Hello everyone, Gary again with Mask Design. In this video we're going to go through the mask layout for the nacelles using our 1/350 scale Aztec pattern design for the Star Trek Enterprise refit model. Now I've already weeded sheet number 16 and put our clear on. I didn't need to show you the weeding process, this was already covered in the previous video, but this way we can get started right to how I've designed this kit to kind of be laid onto the nacelle. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to start from the top and we're going to work our way down just so everyone can see what's going on. This is the top one. Now there's a sheet that comes with the instruction manual. It has the layout of each nacelle, whether it's on the outboard or the inboard. So it kind of gives you a guideline of where these are going to start. This video is going to show you actually where the key points are, where I found it's best to actually start your mask. We want to cut these masks out as close to the mask as you can get them, and that'll help you for the alignment. This is the pattern that runs right along the top of the nacelle, and I kind of need both sides cut out, but really the only ones that are our start points will be this corner, or this start point here, and center of this one. Alright, like I said, this is the start point. Now as you can see, I'm using my kit that has not been assembled, has not been painted yet. I will be starting this kit the minute these videos are done, so just bear with me. These were all used so I can get all my templates set up. So what you want to do is start this one right on the center line and bring this right across and center it right on the top of the hull. And then just smooth her down, starting at the top, moving your way down. Now this one has two ridges. There's a ridge that actually runs right along this edge and this edge. This mask is going to cover both, so let's rub down the top, and then I usually use my fingernail, just push it down into that ridge line. And then rub the rest down. Alright, once you've got everything set, let's find a corner and pull this clear off. Now being that you cut the clear really close, it's going to be a little hard to get started, but once you find it, it comes off fairly easy. And then just make sure you got everything down nice and neat. And that's our first one. Okay, let's move on. Okay, the next one on this side would be this one right here. The only thing we have to cut is along this line. Center line. This outside line is really not that critical right now, but alright, this one starts way down at this end and it's split in two, so it runs right on the center of the hull. Let's just start there and run it right along the center of the hull, the center of the nacelle. And then right along the bottom is where we want to line up. Right along this edge is kind of where our guideline is. Again, pull up the clear. Okay, so this one needs another piece on this side. So on this sheet, this is actually the extension piece here. So what we really need to do is cut this guy out. Now you see a little notch. Let me show you here. There's a little notch on this one. The notch actually sits right here. This notch lines up right here. But if you start the one right on the end of the previous one, you can see that notch fits right where it's supposed to anyway. And then run right along the bottom. And align the bottom here. Remove the clear. Okay. Alright, so moving down, this is our next one that we're going to lay in right in here. It's down on the bottom. We'll cut this guy out. The only one you have to get close is this one on this side. This is our start point on this side. just lay it in place and make sure you got the right one, because the cell does get a little difficult, so we do. So we'll pull this off. Alright, so we're starting on this side. We're lining up along the mask that we just previously laid down. Again, just make sure you get in the little corners and everything, get all that down. And we'll pull this off. Okay, so our next pattern right in here, down here, I've already cut this out, get it ready to go. Same thing, start pattern is right on this side. Start right in that little crease. Alright, moving down this would be your next piece. This is the side here you want to cut a little closer, as it's going to be resting up against a piece. Alright, so we're right along this lower corner here. This is where we're going to start. Let's bring this back in. So there's these little areas here that have to be painted gold. I've given you a mask kit for this, so you can lay this over top once you pull all this other stuff out. And that'll make it a little easier for you to paint that gold. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to lay up the other side right now. I'm going to pull off some of these and kind of show you some of the detail you're going to see, and then we'll lay up the tail and get some stuff on the front. Okay, we're back. I've taken some pieces off of here just so you can kind of get an idea of the pattern that the kit's going to give you. I would still suggest getting that the paint guide from Trek Modelers. Here's one of the pages. You can just kind of see the level of paint that needs to be done. So we're going to start working on the tail section right now that has these little blue squares and the blue dots, and that was the hardest part of this mask kit to produce, this little tail section. I've spent a lot of time on there. As for the rest of this, using sheet 12 and sheets 11, you're going to get, I've already masked or cleaned these up for you. The two front sections and the tail sections. We'll lay these two in and then we'll move to the tail section. So our start point on here is going to be this corner here. We're going to run along the top and down along the side. So right up in the corner, along the top. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is all these pieces that I took off, I just took them off just to kind of show you, but when you take these off and you're doing your Aztec pattern, you're going to have to keep all of these in order just like we did in our first video, so you can make sense of how to put these back. But these, let's just take one of these off and show you what we're talking about. So you can kind of retain this piece and then put it back in if needed. But that's that one. The next one, aligning points are along the top and just along this edge here. Right along the top, forward edge. Rub this down and right around the back. Okay, I just removed a couple pieces of that just so I can kind of get an idea what the Aztec pattern is going to look like. Alright, the hardest piece. So this one we're going to start right on this bottom corner, and we're going to run this blue line right along the edge and then smooth it up. That's our number one start. Right in the corner. Now when you're probably doing this, you're probably going to have this tail section all finished up and painted, but this is designed just to go right up against it, or the way we're doing it here. And just smooth this up towards the top. Now this is where the blue vinyl really comes in handy, because as I said in the previous video, when we overlap these you get a kind of a dark blue line. Now on this one here we overlap right where there's a white spot, so you don't need to remove any of the mask once it's in place. But what we're going to do is cut this guy out. Now this side here, this side that runs right along here, you're going to be about 1 millimeter over top of this and lining it up on the bottom. That's the only way I found to get a good seam, because being that it's white, like I said, if you tried to butt these up exactly and you had just a hairline piece showing, you're actually going to airbrush that in. So this was the best way I found. Alright guys, as I said, around this bottom corner, about 1 millimeter over. You can see how that's turning dark blue. Run along that side and right over the top. I'll show you again once I get the clear off. Get that all rubbed in. Like I said, so there's that dark blue line, which means you've got mask over mask. That's where that comes in handy. Okay, so our next one we want to do is we want to start on this side and work this way. Okay. Same as before, we're going to start right on this corner here, work our way this way, keeping our line on the top. Smooth it along the top and then work your way around the bottom. Go get her. There we go. Alright. Second one. Same as before, this will be a 1 millimeter overlay, and then we'll just lay that right across that edge. Like I said, sometimes you can just pull these off with your fingers without rolling them for the little pieces. Alright, 1 millimeter over. And line it up on the top. Alright, the final piece is going to do the same thing as the last two. It's going to sit over the other two. I've already pre-cut these. It's going to overlap just by about 1 millimeter again, and then making sure that this side runs perpendicular with the nacelle. Okay, your start point's going to be down in this corner, kind of where the other ones were. Millimeter over, and then just kind of look at the inside. You want to just be okay, so I'm not going to get into detail with the paint guide as we're doing the masking here, but once you get to the paint guide, there'll be square pockets here that you have to remove, and it's, you know, whether you're doing your green, your red, your blue, whatever, and then those pieces you have to put back on, and then at the final end you'll remove the little lines to give you your gold paint. So what we're going to do is work on this little area right here. Alright, we'll just move on removing this. These pieces were only put on here for alignment only. Don't need those. Again, for this video, I'm just kind of showing you how to lay out the mask. What you'll end up doing is If you go to the paint guide, this area now you would paint gray or a light gray. Then we would bring this piece in. So all this is going to do is, once your piece is painted gray, this will mask off everything else so you can bring the blue color in. Now on this piece, the same as the little bolts we talked about at the very first video, I removed the little squares. It's a lot easier to pick at these things and get them off the sheet now versus trying to pick at them on the model and damaging the pre-paint you've already done. So with this one, we just kind of start right here, right in this corner, kind of line it up. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the center of this. The top one is down. Bottom one has a little bit of a curve to it, so there we go. Now by splitting that center, it allowed me to work the top and bottom by themselves. And just remove the clear. Now your squares are already set up for the blue. I'm going to show you. All you do now is you just remove these other masks. Like I said, I'm not going to get heavily into the painting of this. That's what the paint guide will do. Alright, so you can see how now we've removed the mask. You can do your paint, your blue, and you have that section done. Alright, so I went ahead and removed some of these lines just so you can kind of see what the pattern is going to look like on the tail section. And like I said, it is for me it was one of the more difficult designs to do, so take your time at it and it'll work. So let's lay up the other side. Now these pieces are a little larger. They don't have the intricate design as the other side, but these still have their own challenges. They're a little larger and they do take a little bit of finessing to get them in. Start the back one, the number one. For this one, I'm going to start right at the top. I want to kind of line it up with the previous ones. Alright. And once you got the top done, just kind of rub your way down to the back or to the bottom. You might get a few little wrinkles because it's a larger piece, but once you get the clear off, you'll be able to set all that back in. So don't worry about it just yet. On the bottom, all the wrinkles are gone. Okay, second piece, just like the other side. This side here is going to overlap this side by a millimeter. All right, second piece. I'm going to start at the top. Same thing. We have a 1 millimeter overlay on the first piece. Just want to kind of just gauge it. You can see the line turning dark blue. Off the clear. Now, one thing I noticed when I was doing up this layout, this line here, I said this square, this is white, so we don't have to worry about it. However, there is a gold line that's going to run across here, and I'll show you when we pull the tape off how you fix that up. But anyway, let's grab our last piece. Just like the other piece. We're going to start this one, other side, we're going to start this at the top. We want to be like a millimeter over the last one. And perpendicular to the nacelle. And remove the clear. Alright, I'm going to step away. I'm going to take some of these lines out, and then I'll show you how we make that little connector piece. Alright, so we got this side all cleaned up, got our lines all off. Now the part I was talking about is right in here. You see how there's an interconnection here? So on this mask I've cut it in. I didn't cut this one just because as you place that mask, you're never going to get it straight. So what I've done is I said, okay, what would best thing to do is to line that up, and then just using your razor blade and just lightly, because this mask isn't that thick, pull that piece out of there. And that finishes that off. Okay, well that concludes our mask kit for the nacelle. We've finished the one side, the other side is exactly opposite, but you kind of get an idea of how the mask should be placed. Again, go back to that paint guide for how you want to paint that up. Contact information's here. Let me know if you have any issues, any comments, concerns. Send me some photos of what you're working on. I'd love to see how your things are going on. Like I said, once you guys have seen these videos, I'm going to start working on mine, and I'll upload some photos then. Till then, we'll see you next time on when we tackle another section of this enterprise.